a, a short masterclass tonight, but it's going to be impactful. This is a new one that I just finished up. And because this is something that I talk about with almost all of my clients, or actually all of my clients, because we're always talking about habits and how not to do them just on the short term, but how to do them on the long term. So we're going to get right into that. So I want to hear from you. What inspired you to show up today? So, is it that you're looking to build different habits? Let me know, what are those habits that you are struggling with? Have things changed as you've gotten older? So, let me know in the chat what inspired you to show up today. And while I'm waiting to see some of those come in, I just want to, welcome you all here again. And if we haven't met, I just wanted to share a little bit about me. I have been coaching for over 10 years now, and my primary focus is women over 40. So, and it's how they can live a healthier life, feel more energized, reduce any hormone related symptoms. I like to think I'm a heart led, I'm practical, and I'm the kind of coach that celebrates your wins and helps you problem solve without making you feel bad about just being human. I'm triple certified, so board certified, all of it, a nutrition certified, yoga instructor, and Reiki master. But I really love to empower women to take control of their health. So it looks like, let's just see. Yeah, I'm seeing, from Catherine, real change is difficult. And she's always looking for new ideas to make things stick. Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of effort and focus and intention. And sometimes we go too big and then we feel bad. And that's where I really want you to hear is how going small is actually what works. And it's a little bit more fun too. Yeah, Tanya says, yeah, I know I need to make changes. I feel lazy and hard to find motivation. Oh, Tanya, I am so happy you are here because you are not lazy and you are going to learn that action actually comes before motivation. So you are not doing anything wrong, right? We just need to know how to do it in the right way. Yeah, Rebecca's saying, I want to get back to the healthy eating, that you helped me achieve last year. Yeah, absolutely. It's about sometimes coming back over and over again to some of the passions, some of the practices that you have already had. So, what you're going to learn here today is, why habits feel harder after we turn 40. And I'm talking about 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s here. And then we're going to talk about 4 shifts. And I could have made this like 10 shifts, but I'm breaking it down to 4. Some we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth than others. And then just a simple next step that you can start this week. So, I'm going to introduce in step number 2, and I'm going to have you post in step number 3, the shift, about something that you can declare to everybody here live with us, what you are going to do for your small steps. So just keep that in the back of your mind right now. And then we're just going to be talking about, right, keeping things realistic, not the wake up at 4:30 in the morning, drink celery juice, run 10 miles. I mean, those are not the people I coach. I really coach like real women. So this is like real life version, the one that works even when you are stressed and you have a busy schedule and your hormones aren't doing what they want. And maybe the pantry contains a little chocolate, right? There's no shame. Chocolate is allowed. So I invite you just to let go of any distractions. You signed up for a reason. So grab a notebook. And again, at the end, we're going to share that action item. But again, come into the chat. If you're just showing up, let me know what inspired you to show up for today. Yeah, Josie says packing lunch and food for travel for work is a big challenge. Yeah, Josie. So maybe that's going to be, we're going to look at one small thing because that's a big thing right there. But maybe it's going to be thinking about snacks or something like that. Yeah, and I'm hearing, I'm looking for a way to just be consistent at least 80% of the time. And I love, Kathy, that you just said 80% of the time because we are not talking about perfection. And that's really how I lead my life. I'm like, I'm going to be healthy. about 80 to 90% of the time. But I'm also going to have room for when I had lunch with a friend from high school. We had French fries and salads, right? That is okay. We are not here to look to be perfect. It's all of, yeah, it's going to be real. Yeah. And Christy says, all of the above is what I'm here for. So, and then we're going to have some time at the end for some questions. So feel free if you have some questions just to let me know. If you're just coming in, continue to come into the chat and just let me know what inspired you to show up for tonight. And just to let you know, like this is your time. You are not behind. You are not broken. You do not need to fix anything, right? You just need to find that right strategy and that right support. So, sometimes the chat's going to be quiet, but I want you to just to say like, yeah, feel free to come in and be active here. So many women over 40, they say like, okay, things are just not working like they used to, right? Just give me a big yes in the comments if that is you, right? And it's not because you suddenly got lazy, all right? The real reason habits feel hard is that our hormones are changing and they are our body's messengers and they impact everything that we do. So thinking about your energy, right? A lot of us are here because we want more energy. We want to have that life to do the things we want to do. We want to feel happy about it, right? It changes our mood. It changes our sleep, maybe waking up in the middle of the night or having a hard time going to sleep. It changes our digestion and then, of course, our menstrual cycle. So when our hormones can be balanced, we can feel pretty good, but when they're out of sync, not so much. But the good news is that really, thinking about these small changes, they can help you feel like you again. So if you're thinking, why can't I do it just like I used to? I want you to know, like, there's nothing you're doing wrong. You're just in the season of life, and I'm in this season that we need to adapt. We need to figure something else out, right? That quote of, we can't do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. We need to do something different. So, why do habits feel harder after 40? Well, this is exactly why we need to talk about the difference of looking at our habits after 40 because they need to change, right? Success comes from habits that are smaller, that are more flexible, they are more supportive, right? That they need to work on the days that we feel tired. They need to work on our really busy days. They need to work on those days where we just don't feel like doing anything. So this isn't about trying harder or pushing through. It's about really having that compassion and listening and working with your body, your energy, and real life. And the good news is that when we adjust the approach, like small changes actually work better than they ever did before. So, and that's what we're really going to talk about when we get into our 4 shifts. They're just simple changes in how we think about our habits, how we start them, how we support ourselves, so we can have this change actually stick, right? Nobody wants to go through change to only have it changed for 1 month, right? We want to have this change 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So these hormone shifts, they change a lot in our life and our mental load may be higher. So this is biology. This is our life stage, our season, not a failure. So the next slides are going to be going into that portion. So I just want to name something again that most women don't struggle because they don't care or they're not trying hard enough. I actually think it's the opposite, right? They struggle because they do care so much, but they're also, I'm hearing them say that they've been taught to change in a way that doesn't work long term. They're looking at these short term fixes and they actually just make us feel worse. So these shifts really, we're going to be honoring where we're at, honoring the season, not going against it. So this approach is inspired by the idea that small changes done consistently create big results, not through force, but through support. So shift number one is a growth mindset. So some of you have probably heard about growth mindset before, and I love that they're even teaching this in schools today. But a growth mindset just means believing that change is possible, not because you're perfect or disciplined, but because you're willing to practice, practice, practice. We can get really better at anything that we constantly do over and over again. But again, this is important. Motivation doesn't come first. Action does. So when we think about the goal, and the goal sometimes when people come to me, it might be, okay, I need to lose 40 pounds. Well, that's like a direction, right? But that's not the action. We need to have a plan for the action. And so we need to think about going as small as possible so you can do it even on those hard days. That one of the most freeing ideas is that, if you're struggling to improve, it's not about you're not doing anything, that it's your system, like it's the routine, it's the habits. And so a system is just a collection of all the habits that make up your day. And so there might just need to be a few adjustments that need to happen. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Instead, we can ask, like, what needs to change in my routine? Like, what does it need to change in my morning? What needs to change before I go to bed? What needs to change before I take a work trip, right, to be healthy? So thinking about these as a system and how can we change that, it really puts the pressure off of you as a person and just thinking about, okay, what's that routine going to be? So a growth mindset, I think, is a superpower, whether you're looking to get healthy or learning a new language, whatever it is, because habits don't stick when people never mess up, right? Habits stick when people mess up and they recover quickly. And that's what health is all about, right? We all have days that we go and we will eat whatever the heck we want. We don't exercise, but then the next day, we go right back to it. And so I always think about, it's okay to do something for one day, but if I do it for 2 days, that's the start of a new habit. So a growth mindset is thinking about progress over perfection, right? Learning from the slips. So not thinking of us as a failure, we're doing anything wrong, but going, what did I learn from that? One of my clients today, that wasn't even a slip at all, she just ran out of chia seeds and she was having chia seed pudding every morning for breakfast. And she said, oh my goodness, I'm really learning, right, that I need this extra fiber right away in the morning. This really impacts me, right? Learning from every experience. And that's what health coaching is we're always experimenting and learning from each new experience. So the secret, right, to winning is knowing how to lose, knowing how to bounce back, to go, I made a mistake. What did I learn from that? What can I bring to this for the next time? So when that growth mindset, a slip is a feedback. It's not failure. It's information. It's the brain saying, oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's adjust. Let's try something else, right? So this growth mindset, this is a reframe that changes everything. So some past clients have told me, right, they would slip up and they're like, oh, I didn't do well today, so I'm just done. This is what they've done before they met me. And then they would say, I blew it. I might as well eat all the snacks. Okay, I'll just start again next week, next month. But think about it as a slip is a detour, right? It's not a dead end. It's not black and white. Again, it's not what's wrong with me. Why can't I do this? Instead, it's like, okay, what just happened here? What's the information? And what do I need? Right? Maybe you actually need more sleep. Maybe you need a different kind of plan. Maybe you need more support. Maybe you needed a snack at 3 p.m. so you didn't end up starving at 7, right? Whatever it is. So just thinking about that slip as data. So just put in the chat, What do you usually tell yourself? And maybe even starting with that reframe. Like when I slip, some of you might be brave and just be honest and say, I usually tell myself I'm a failure, that there's something wrong with me, that I can't do this. But instead, how would it feel to say, when I slip, I'm going to tell myself, oh, let's see what I actually needed today. Why did this happen? What do I need more of? So I can use this as information so it doesn't happen again, right? So when we can have this growth mindset, we can give ourselves this time to like reset, right? It's something we can actually say to ourselves when this happens. Like maybe we say, like, oh, well, that just happened. I'm learning, right? Or, okay, the next thing I do is going to be even better. For me, when I go unhealthy with a meal, my next meal, I'm like, okay, it's going to be the most healthy thing I can do, right? And it's just because I feel best when I feed myself really healthy and nutrient dense food. But I do like the French fries, I do like the wine, I do like the popcorn. So it's not about guilt. It's about adjustments. Um, I've really worked through my own guilt, and because guilt is really heavy, it drains energy and it does nothing to help you. Talking bad about yourself, bullying yourself does not help you to go forward. I 100% know this from every woman I've coached is that when we can treat ourselves like a friend, thinking about what would you say to a friend that maybe was on, eating healthy or was going to the gym 3 times a week and then didn't go for a week, right? It's like, what did you learn? How did you feel not going to the gym this week? Well, I felt lousy. I didn't feel like I had any energy. Okay, so what did you learn? Oh, that I really enjoy going to the gym. Okay, I'm going to go this next week, right? Talk to yourself as a friend. So it just makes you feel terrible if you go down that rabbit hole of feeling guilty and not worthy. So we have to stop trying to be perfect and start taking these small actions instead. Then something really shifts, right? We begin to see ourselves differently. And that's what happens with health coaching is that they see things from a different perspective at the end of the program. And that's the most beautiful thing is to really have that shift that the same thing is happening, but you see it completely different. So then your actions are different. So shift number one was right, having that growth mindset, bouncing back from mistakes. Shift number two is really focusing at one habit at a time. Some clients come in and they're like, oh, I've done this and that, but it's worked for a week. Well, sometimes those are great experiences, but when we look at for the long term, we want to have it realistic, right? That most people don't fail because they quit. They fail because they start too big. It's too big of a mountain to climb. So small, steady actions are really what's going to create change. So when we make smaller, it becomes sustainable, right? I just want to make sure that sets in. But when we make the change smaller, that's what's going to last the lifetime, right? One supportive meal still counts. One walk still counts. One extra glass of water a day still counts, right? These small shifts done consistently matter more than the big efforts done every now and then. So maybe you wake up in the morning and you have a full glass of water. It's not life changing, but after a year of having an extra maybe 16 ounces of water a day, you're probably not eating as much. You're feeling more energy. That adds up, right? So going away from that all or nothing, right, to just small and steady, really looking at that consistency instead. So, really talking more about this shift number two, this one habit at a time. When we have action, it also relieves some anxiety. There's a lot of times that people like to talk about what they want to do, right? We sometimes will avoid something we care about. But then the stress keeps growing. We keep thinking about it. But when we just make even a tiny step in the direction of that goal, our nervous system starts to settle. We're like, oh, we're really doing something good to take care of ourselves. We're taking responsibility for taking care of our bodies. And it doesn't take much. 5 minutes is often enough to feel like you're back on path. So remember that action, right? It's going to help you with momentum. It's going to help you with motivation, and it relieves anxiety. So a little does go a long way. So now start to think about it. You don't have to put this in the chat right now, but just thinking about, what would be one small action, and just start to think, that you could start to take, maybe starting today, starting tomorrow, that you're like, oh yeah, my future self was going to say, oh, thank you, Rebecca from 6 months ago. Thank you, Kathy from 6 months ago. I'm really glad you started that small shift. So shift number 3, this is a big one. We need to build habits for real life. There are so many things on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook about you do this each day, and this is your results. Well, that's great, but let's talk about your life. What does your day look like? How is your energy? Let's talk about for you uniquely, how does this look for you? So we want to focus on who you are becoming. Right? Small actions shape your identity. Again, we're striving for that progress instead of perfection. So instead of chasing that outcome of losing the 40 pounds, let's focus on that identity. Every single action you make, even these small ones, is a vote for the kind of woman that you're becoming. So think about, who do you want to be 6 months from now? Who do you want to be a year from now? Who do you want to be 5 years from now? Right? Every vote you take today goes towards that. And that's powerful because it means that change doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency, and it requires kindness, right? This is real life. So who you're becoming, where you want to go matters. So in 10 years, who do you want to be? Right? Today, the question is, what helps my future self? So the big vision, it matters, right? It gives us that direction. But the real question, and this is how with my health coaching clients, we break it down to the real life, right? What can you do today that's going to vote for that future self? So this workshop, what I do as a health coach, right? It's all about closing the gap between today and who you want to become, right? There's point A, here we are today, point B, who you want to become. And in between, there's a mountain with valleys and peaks and everything in between. And that's where that growth mindset comes in, right? Continuing on that journey. So once we know, right, who we're becoming, and a lot of us, that's the easy question. The next question is, how do we make this easier in your life, in your unique life? Tiny changes are doable. Think about how many hours per day are under your control. So if somebody here is working full time and maybe has a family, or maybe they have parents that they're taking care of, maybe they have volunteer opportunities that are taking them away. Really think about how many hours per day are under just your control. I mean, those are really important hours, and it can be really fun to make small progress. And thinking about, what can I stick to even on my worst days, right? What can I stick to on my worst days? So motivation, right? It's unreliable. It changes throughout the day. It goes up and down. And that's why habits need to be small enough that you'll do them even when that motivation is low. A habit that only works on good days is not a habit. That is just a wish. And it doesn't make us feel very good about ourselves. Again, these tiny habits, the word that I love to use a lot, it's doable. Like, we have to have things that are doable. It's nice to go, oh, I want to do this big plan, but we need to break it down. What can you stick to? Scale the habits for those low motivational days. So when we are taking action, right, the big change doesn't come from doing everything differently. It just comes from maybe doing one or two, just a few things differently. And again, it's about being consistent with that and having that compassion. So if you just were to think about what would be that one small shift, this week, like what would feel supportive to you? And just drop this in the chat. What's one small thing you're going to be choosing this week? And you don't have to overhaul everything, right? We start small, one loving step. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's going to bed 10 minutes earlier. Maybe it's, I'm going to have veggies in my lunch tomorrow. Maybe, I'm going to go for a walk after breakfast. Maybe it's choosing something that just feels light, that doesn't feel so forced, something that maybe brings you just that little extra joy, right? That lightness. Let this be the week that you begin to be gentle with yourself, intentional and on your terms. That, right, progress isn't loud. Sometimes it's just one kind choice at a time. And that one small choice continues to build and to build, and you continue to work on that momentum, right? So thinking about what would that look like for you, and just coming into the chat here, because our daily habits, they play a huge role, right, in our health. So these small, consistent changes can lead to better energy, mood, overall self, well-being. So I'm just going to come into the chat before we go to our last one here, our last shift. Okay, let me get back to the chats. Oh, there's so many great things here. Yeah, it's just saying, right, Rebecca is saying, yeah, she wants to get back to the eating. And Chris, okay, let's see, Kathy. I just want to be able to stop eating and grazing after dinner. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes when we think about stopping something, right? Is it something that you would want to add in instead, right? And I would want to talk to you to see, what does that look like for you? Is that, oh, maybe it's making a cup of tea after dinner, right? Having something that feels nice and warm and cozy. Maybe it's doing a little stretch or a little walk after dinner, something like that. So, yeah, a lot of people say, like, yeah, don't miss twice, need motivation again. Lori say, I tell myself I'm a failure and I can't lose weight. These are some of the old questions here. Thank you. Yeah. And Lori, and I appreciate you saying that, because by saying I tell myself I'm a failure and I can't lose weight, our brain is always wanting to be right. So when we tell it things like that, it is going to prove to you that you are right. So instead, to say, like, I'm a work in progress. Like, look at me. I showed up at this workshop tonight and I am taking notes and I'm taking it all in. And so maybe for you, Laura, your one thing is your mindset is changing that to notice, like, what is my inner dialogue, and how can I notice it, and how can I be kinder to myself, right? Um, Kathy is saying, yeah, I tell myself it's not that hard to do. Why can't you just do it? Yeah, and think about, Kathy, like, what would you say to your friend, right? To say, maybe finding out, what is it, where is it that you're getting stuck? And that's what I love about health coaching, is that every single woman I work with, they all get stuck in different places. And so we get to figure out, what is that thing and what is that hurdle? Because everybody has strengths, and we double down on those strengths. Yeah. And I love what Christy says. When I slip, I tell myself I will try to do better tomorrow. Yes, I love that. Catherine says, I already slipped up, so I might as well keep eating it. Oh, yeah, even though I know I don't want to. Yeah. So changing that mindset to say, oh, I just slipped. All right. What did I learn from that? Right. So Josie's saying the warm cup of water before coffee. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is such a wonderful way to start the day. And especially if it's like a warm cup of water with lemon, it just is such a wonderful way. Okay, so these are some habits of things that people are going to start now. Tanya says, actually using my sit stand workstation to stand. Yeah, so Tanya, I would invite you to think about, what does that look like for you? Is that using it one day a week for an hour in the standing position? Is it using it every day for 5 minutes? But again, start so small. What I say a lot to my health coaching clients, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being so easy that you're like, I 100% got this. And one is, Lori, there's no way I'm going to get this. I'm going to do this new habit. Give me like a 7 or an 8. So it's going to be easy for you to do, but you're going to have to be intentional about it. So maybe it is just 5 minutes. And maybe it's going to be during a certain meeting, or maybe it's during this certain admin, but really define what is going to look like to you. And the same, yeah, with Lori, like eating more veggies. What does that look like for a small habit, for that small change? Is it looking at one meal a day to have some veggies? Is it your snacks, having them prepped and ready in the fridge? But going nice and small. So maybe it's one meal a day that's going to have some veggies. And then next week going, all right, how did that work for me? How easy was it? Oh, that was pretty easy. You can add some more. If it wasn't easy, then you stay exactly where you are. Yeah, Kathy's saying no more desserts or sweets while sitting in front of the TV. Yeah, Kathy, that's a great one that so many people, including myself, we struggle with. So really, again, defining what does that look like and what can be like a fun reward for every night you don't do it. And maybe it is doing, and I wouldn't say doing this 7 days a week to start. Again, find out where would that spot be, because if you say 7 days a week and you mess up once, then you're going to feel like you failed. So if you say 2 days this week, that's success, and you get in 5, you're going to be like, look at me, right? That energy shift keeps you going to keep going. But the reward, that's part of the decision of a new habit. So if you think about, okay, I'm not going to have desserts or sweets while in front of the TV, but maybe your reward can be some raspberries, or maybe it is going to be that cup of tea, or maybe it's going to be something completely different because I always think the client is the expert. So I would like to know more. Catherine said, yeah, 5 minutes of no phones and breathing in the morning before coffee. Yeah, phones are a big one that a lot of people talk about, right? That they say, oh, I'm in control of all these hours. I have like 2 free hours in the evening, but it feels like I'm so busy. But they realize they're scrolling when they're so tired, right? And so, what does that look like? So 5 minutes of no phones. And again, I think that's a great amount of time to start. And I would just recommend not every single day, but to give yourself a smaller, like 2 days this week or 3 days this week. And what does that breathing in the morning mean? Maybe it's just one breath to start, and then tuning in, like, how does that feel? Yeah, Christy says choosing better snacks. Yeah, what does that mean to choose better snacks? So thinking about, is it going to be going to the store and getting some more veggies? What does that look like for you? So I love all the interactions. So thank you. Keep it coming, keep it coming. So we're just going to finish now up to shift number 4, our last one. That support changes everything. So here's what I've seen over and over again, is that change is possible alone, but it is easier and it's typically more sustainable with support, right? And support doesn't mean weakness at all. It means that we are human, right? Support increases our follow through, and that we don't have to figure it all out by ourselves. So the reason why support works is because it helps you to stay focused when life gets busy, right? Like we might start something new and then we go, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that this week I was going to not eat sweets in front of the TV, and I just ended up doing it the last 3 nights, right? So it helps us to stay intentional, grounded with motivation, and then always knowing like, oh, I'm going to be talking to somebody, right? So that support can encourage you to continue on this path when these old patterns show up. And the key about these old patterns, these unhealthy patterns, mindset, habits, we need to work through them so they don't keep popping up a year from now, 6 months from now, 5 years from now, right? Most people don't need more information. It means having the right structure. It means having the right system, finding the right guidance, finding the best accountability to help with these small shifts so they actually stick, right? We want to have it for the long run. So health coaching takes everything we talked about today and helps you apply it into your own life with your schedule, with your energy, with your season. And it's a collaborative process that focuses on habits, mindset, and that sustainable change. We don't focus on quick fixes, and it has nothing to do with willpower, right? So coaching turns insight into action and then action into consistency, right? Coaching helps to turn that insight into action and that action into consistency. And I had the two of my sessions today were the last sessions of a program. And one of the clients, she said, what I realize is I enjoy wanting to eat healthy now. I want to go work out. I love that I go to bed earlier. She's like, I didn't know that I could actually change my mindset. And so it's designed for real life to figure out what works for you. So if you've been nodding, you're thinking, yes, this is me. This next part is for you. So I want to extend a special invitation to all of you, because if you've been dealing with things, especially if you're over 40, maybe you're having hormonal changes or low energy or trouble sleeping, or maybe you're stuck with your weight or movement or sleep routine, then I would love to meet with you, because you do not have to figure this all out alone. So here's one of my clients. She said she tried every diet out there, nothing worked. And right, we talk about that health isn't just about weight. It's about sleep and movement and stress and connection and breathing and nutrition and so much more. And so by working with the whole person, right, this client, she's lost over 100 pounds and she has been keeping it off. She's sleeping better. She's enjoying cooking, and she actually loves her life. She loves moving her body again. So we work on things like losing weight, helping you feel less anxious, just helping you feel better in your body. So she just recommends working with me, and she says she's changed my perspective on health and on life. And she said, I get to choose how I want to live it, right? You get to choose that. So health coaching helps with so many different things, but it's about building those real habits that stick. Again, even when life gets really busy, right? Coaching isn't about information. It's about that transformation, not about doing everything, but in choosing what for you, for your unique self, is what helps you to move the needle, right? That's where coaching makes all the difference. So for anybody here that if we haven't had our free initial client session, health coaching session yet, I would love for you to schedule a time. This is, just a time that's completely free, and it's not a big sales pitch or anything. We like literally have a health coaching session, because every single woman is unique, and so is your experience. It's not a one size fits all approach. And that's exactly why this one-on-one is so powerful, because we can talk about what is the thing that you talked about today? What is your one action and how has it been going? And so it's about giving you clarity and support so you can feel more in control. So I'm not sure. I don't think the QR code is showing up right now, but you could go to loricampa.biz / free coaching session, and then that will give you spot to see my schedule, and then you can pick a time that works best for you, and we'll meet over Zoom. So booking is just simple. So go ahead and go there. I have another slide that has the QR code, so maybe that will be working. This is just another client that just said, working with Lori has been an absolute game changer. She's never felt more supported or confident in her ability to take care of herself. And she is a mother, and she just says she feels so grateful for her change, because now she feels like she's being a great example to her children who are preteens, and that so she's cutting off what she learned as a child, which wasn't the healthiest, and she's coming in to really change how the next generation works. I think this is our last one, but she said, just after one session, she felt more clarity. right? That it's, again, it's not about quick fixes, but it's about what actually lasts and about becoming the version of herself that she always wanted to be. So, again, if you are interested to book your free session, and I'm going to put a link in the chat as well, because I don't think the QR code is showing up here, but it's lauricampa.biz/free coaching session. And you can go here, and then here's just my QR code for my website. So you can go under health coaching as well. And we are going to start the Q&A soon. So let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm going to stop the share here. Let's see. Yeah. And yeah, people are saying this has been very helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate that you took the time to think about your own habits. And I hope that what you have gained from today um, is that these are doable, right? That these consistent small habits really make a big change in the long run. And it's about staying, just continuing to go for each week. Okay, what did I learn? What can I build on? And when you look at it after the end of like 3 months or 6 months, that makes a big difference. You could look at it a year, 2 years. That makes even a bigger difference. Yeah. So yes, everyone's saying thank you. Very helpful, reinforces what I can work on. So thank you everybody for being here tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you have questions, reach out to me personally. Otherwise, I'll see you on our one-on-one coaching session. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.